No, not. I'm not scarce. I'm Joker. Not. Everyone's always teasing me in the comments. They're always teasing me about this. Say, hey, what's up, guys? Joker here. It's like, oh, hey, what's up, scarce here? Because I guess he says the same thing. That scarce guy. He's like one of those. Oh wait, there I am. There I am looping back on myself. We haven't done. It's been a while since we've done that. Since I've actually looped my own audio back in myself. So yeah, it's like good old time's sake. Oh, and I've still got up my music player there. Now we're on the games release schedule. I was looking at that just before the show because I was actually just kind of thinking about the kind of drought that we're in right now, kind of early in the year, like with tech and stuff. Like we had CES, which kind of kicked off the year with a bang as far as tech announcements are concerned. But now, right after CES, it's just kind of like in a valley of not a whole lot of big tech news, not a lot of big gaming news, not a lot of games coming out really. We got Resident Evil coming out towards the end of the month. When's that coming out? On the 24th. I'll probably do some benchmarking performance on that. I mean, I'm so desperate for games to test at this point that I was actually toying with the idea of doing an RX 480 1060 showdown with a cricket game. There was a cricket game that released on Steam the other day, and it had a demo, and I was just like, maybe I could go benchmark that on the 1060 and the RX 480. So that should give you an idea of just how few games are actually coming out here kind of in early 2017. Mass Effect Andromeda, that's coming out on the 21st of March. But between Resident Evil 7 and really Mass Effect Andromeda, there's really not a whole lot else kind of coming out between those. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see what I'm kind of looking at. This is the Game Informer 2017 release schedule. They put one of these out every year where they just kind of break it down month by month with all the different consoles and the PC, what platforms each game is coming out on. So this is kind of what I was just looking at before the show was started, because some people in the chat had been talking about games and things. And builds also, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about at the start of the show today, was builds. I do have a build coming up. I don't have any tech pickups because, like I said, kind of a tech drought. Sort of the way it works with getting hardware samples anyway is that sort of towards the end of the year after the holidays, the marketing budgets of some of these companies is kind of a little bit lower, so they kind of stop sending out stuff towards around like December, and beginning of January it's pretty slow too, but now it's starting to pick up again. I've got some few things coming in. Mouse and keyboard from Cougar coming in. I've got a case and a power supply from Be Quiet. Got a motherboard from Gigabyte coming in. I'm going to be doing builds along with V1 Tech again, along with doing something with the KB Lake 7700K. So I'm going to be doing something with all of that. So I've been kind of getting all the parts together for that, which is going to be coming kind of towards the end of the month. As far as you guys can see, no co-host again this week. I am flying solo. Again this time, but this week it was actually planned. I knew a few days in advance, so I was able to prepare accordingly as far as all the topics are concerned. So we don't have a global meltdown like last week, where I didn't have, I was not expecting to have to do it solo last week, so that's kind of why things kind of just fell apart. But this week I was prepared for it. Anthony had a vacation this week with his family, so he's on holiday. But next week he's going to be back, and also it kind of worked out with the schedule that Steve is going to come on next week as well. So next week it's going to be Steve, Anthony, as well as myself doing TGW. So we'll be having a 3-man show next week. So that's going to be awesome, getting those guys together. They know each other, seeing each other around at different shows and stuff like that. And they've hung out and kind of like partied together in the past. So it'll be good getting those guys together on the show. And we will be talking about all the tech and stuff that'll be going on throughout the next upcoming week. But now we're going to get into some of the stuff for this week. First, I was talking about the processor there. These guys over at Silicon Lottery, they actually list all of these, a lot of processors actually, but mostly it seems, I think, just Intel right now. Yeah, maybe they will have one Zen processor become available. But right now it looks like they're doing all Intel, I believe. Yeah, get some of this coffee in me. So it's a very interesting website where they basically sell processors that they've tested, that they can, show that they've been able to overclock to a certain range, kind of removing the whole Silicon Lottery aspect out of it. So the 7700K right now that I'm waiting to get towards the end of the month, I was looking at getting one on Micro Center for $330, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' feedback in the live chat, as well as the comments and everything. Is, would you pay extra for this? Would you be willing to pay extra for a processor that is going to be able to clock a specific speed if that's something you want to be able to hit on? Because I can get the 7700K for $330 at Micro Center, or I could opt if I wanted to and spend an additional, was that $50 to bring it up to $380 to get a guaranteed 5 gigahertz overclocked 7700K. And the one that they're saying here that they're selling was able to do it at 1.376 on the core voltage or less, and that's 5 gigahertz basically. So, and they're saying it might be within 0.1, like, plus or minus basically on the overclock. But yeah, I was just kind of curious what you guys would do if you'd be willing, if this is something you'd be willing to pay extra for. I'm kind of on the mindset I kind of like taking the gamble. That's the whole fun of it being the Silicon Lottery. I don't know if it's fun for you guys. It's kind of fun for me. It's good when you win, I guess. When you kind of come up the short end of the stick, it's not really great. They even have ones on here if you want to pay extra. They've got the 5.1 gigahertz 7700K at $440. They've even got a 5.2 gigahertz, which is currently sold out, but they're selling those for $720. So absolutely mental. Certainly some serious bragging rights if you've got a 5.2 gigahertz Kaby Lake i7. But I really don't think the performance you're getting on an extra 200 megahertz is justified there for spending what is more than or nearly double what the processor is itself. Read the text at the beginning of the ad. What is the ad? I don't. The CPU can be delitted. Is that what you're talking about on the ad? I do know about the delitting. You can actually pay them to delit. If you want to pay them to delid, you can pay them $50, and they'll delid your processor for you if that's something you're wary about doing, which I could certainly understand. I was watching a video of Linus doing that before the show kicked off, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I'd be doing that with something I spent $400 on personally. But hey, that's just me. So yeah, Kaby Lake 7700K. I'm looking forward to finally getting one of these in and slapping it into a build and everything like that. I think it's going to be a fun part to have. Really, the only reason I got it for the test system is because I'm running an i5 right now. Wanted to get rid of that bottleneck, but if someone out there was running another i7, it's not something I'd really recommend them to upgrade to, since it's really just a faster clocked Skylake processor. Really not much gain at all. Pretty much zero gain, actually, going from Skylake to this, except for the out-of-the-box performance, which comes down to the clock speed. So, but it makes sense for me to get it, since I'll be able to do the whole build video with it and do lots of testing in that system throughout the year. So I think it definitely makes sense. But yeah, let me know once again in the comments what you guys think about the paying extra for the Silicon Lottery. We got some info about the quad-core CPUs under Ryzen. So switching gears over to AMD now. Looked like some of their quad-core CPUs have started to ship out in samples. These are clocked at 3.4 gigahertz. They're quad cores with just 4 cores, 4 threads, so no additional hyper-threading or simultaneous multi-threading going on with these processors that have been sent out. And kind of the big thing with these is that they're going to be sort of closer to the budget end, probably, I'm guessing, around $250 and below on the chips that they're talking about here, competing with the likes of i5 and i3. But with the big benefit on these is that they're going to be overclockable. So if you get any X370 or B350 motherboard, you're going to be able to overclock the more budget-oriented Ryzen CPUs. No matter which one you get, all of them are going to be overclocked. So I'm going to be interested to see how many of them actually ship in the stack, because with Intel, with the i3 and the i5, they only have one part in each of those stacks where it's the K processor, where you can actually go ahead and overclock it. So how many, will Ryzen have, like in their SR3 and SR5 range, where there'll be multiple at different clock speeds, probably from different binnings, that kind of thing, because that's sort of what I'm expecting to see. Maybe they'll kind of like stagger these out. Like maybe they'll come out initially at 3.4, and then maybe further down the road they might come up with a little bit higher price. Maybe they'll be clocked at 3.6, 3.7, and we might see these boosting further as well. And another thing to consider, I guess, really is that they've got the XFR, so the automatic overclocking that they're able to do on the Ryzen CPUs, which I think are going to make them a really compelling option, certainly for entry-level builders, people that haven't really built a lot of PCs before, don't know a lot about overclocking. I think Ryzen is shaping up to be better for those types of people. It's going to be able to, kind of take the overclocking stuff out of the equation and kind of do everything for those people. And from what we also heard with them talking about during the reveal at CES, it seemed like it's going to be very beneficial to streamers as far as the threaded CPU performance is concerned for streaming to things like Twitch. So, people just getting into PC gaming, maybe thinking about streaming, I think Ryzen's going to end up being, a much more interesting option out there compared to something like Kaby Lake. We'll have to see how the performance all adds up at the end of the day. But I'm more excited about the Kaby Lake. Ryzen coming out still than Kaby Lake. I mean, Kaby Lake is here. People have already done videos on it, and it already feels like it's like meh. That already kind of happened. I'm still going to do the build with it, but I'm going to also do one with Ryzen also because I want to do something comparably priced maybe and kind of put those systems head to head. That's something I definitely want to do. I would say in the coming months, once all the hard work becomes available to me and we have it available to us. We're expecting to probably see Ryzen sometime around GDC. That was the rumor last week. Remember that story that came up? There was a press release issued out by AMD to someone from GDC, which is going on between, I believe, the February 28th to around March 3rd, somewhere in that area. And they had mentioned the previously released Ryzen CPUs, so that would kind of indicate that we're going to see the Zen either release at GDC or just before GDC. So that's not too long away. We're looking at just over a month maybe until we'll actually see these processors probably out there. And with them already starting to ship to reviewers with the sampling on the quad cores, I would say that seems fairly likely. Now, also my question also was, how many chips are they going to release right away at launch? Are we going to only see quad cores? Are we going to see the 8-core 16-threaded parts, which they've been teasing at all of these events? Or are they going to kind of go after more of the low end, the quad core? Or are we going to have the full stack? We'll have to wait and see on all of that stuff. But Zen is certainly, I think, probably one of the most exciting releases we're going to be seeing this year, besides Vegas. So really AMD, it's all the pressure's on AMD now. Just kind of waiting on them. They actually pushed out their new Relive driver this week, which is adding in support for Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, which I was curious what they call that in Japan, because in case you're not familiar, over in Japan for forever, basically, Resident Evil has been referred to as Biohazard. The game is just called Biohazard. So in Japan, is this called Biohazard 7 Biohazard? Because that would just be weird. Or maybe it's Biohazard 7 Resident Evil over there. I don't know. That's just that when I saw this topic and I just saw Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and those words kind of crammed right next to each other, and that was basically the thought that came to my mind, because obviously my mind's in the right place when we're discussing things like drivers and Resident Evil 7. I did get a chance to try out the demo on this. They actually do have a demo on Steam for Resident Evil 7. You can go on there, you can download it. It seemed to run reasonably well, I guess, on the GTX 1080. There were some parts where I actually saw it dips down into the 50s. And the textures were not that great, and it was a first-person game. It seemed like they were kind of going after that like Amnesia crowd, kind of getting away from the more traditional third-person element of the Resident Evil titles, which I always liked. In recent years, Dead Space had kind of taken up that kind of position as being the best sort of third-person horror shooter for me. Was Dead Space, because Resident Evil kind of feels like it's been on hiatus, I would say, since like Resident Evil 5. Really, I enjoyed Resident Evil 5, even though it got a lot of the fans of the series, the long-time fans of the series, had kind of, bashed them on Resident Evil 5. I still enjoyed that game a lot. I liked the co-op in it, and yeah, I enjoyed that game pretty much top to bottom. I even liked the multiplayer in Resident Evil 5. So, I would be, a fan of them sticking with the third-person aspect. These games like this, the first-person kind of like creepy horror games like Amnesia, Outlast, things like that. I haven't been able to get into any of them yet, and I played the demo on this and I couldn't get into that either, so this really isn't a game that I plan on playing. But if people are interested in seeing it, tested, obviously I'll do performance videos with it, as much as people want to see. But it's probably not a game that I'm not looking forward to playing. Recently I've been playing a lot of open world stuff, playing Dragon Age Inquisition a lot this week, actually. I've just been caning that nonstop, Dragon Age Inquisition, having a lot of fun in that. I'm stuck on a part right now, though, annoyingly. You have to like walk around like a party or something and like listen to like elves whispering or something. I'm just like, this is like the most boring mission ever, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Can we please just hurry up and get the hell out of here? Like, I'm serious. Like, after the show, after like the show and dinner or whatever, if I sit down and play some Dragon Age tonight, I'm probably going to look up a Let's Play of that mission just so that I can watch someone else do it so that I can get it over with. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever had that before, where you've been playing a game, that you're enjoying, but you come to a mission that is just challenging for whatever reason, but it's not even challenging in the sense of that it's hard, like it's a task that I just can't do. It's just, I get to this, I'm at this part, and it feels like the game didn't explain it well enough, or maybe I didn't hear what I was supposed to do, but I was just like, I've been wandering around this mansion in the game for like what feels like for days, with like absolutely no clue of what to do in Dragon Age. So yeah, I'm seriously going to watch a Let's Play on what to do with this damn mission where you have to listen to the Whispering Elves. You bastards. Dragon Age. Also, side note on Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't know if any of you guys play that game, but it does not run amazing. Like it doesn't run that great. Like I've had dips on my 1080 down into the 40s. It's really bad. Like that game is not optimized all that great at all. Like we're going to be talking about Watch Dogs 2 in a minute, and I was kind of comparing it to that, and now with this latest patch, and even before this patch, actually on Watch Dogs 2, I would say that game is running better than Dragon Age Inquisition, which is kind of weird considering it's a BioWare, Frostbite title. I would have thought it would be running a lot better than compared to the Watch Dogs 2, especially with Watch Dogs 2 having just coming out, and it's a Ubisoft game. And Dragon Age has been out for a good while, and the optimization still hasn't gotten really quite all the way there on that game for the PC, which is kind of a shame. I've always been a fan of the Dragon Age titles. Dragon Age Origins was still the best by far, though. No doubt about it. Kind of an AMD title. You think so? You think that's what it is? I don't know. I'd have to really pop in an RX 480 and see how it's doing with the minimums, because my 1080 will get up around 80, 90 FPS in some parts of the larger open world, but then I'll just get into combat. There'll be a lot of particle effects, and I'll see my frames drop down to the 40s. It's pretty smooth because I'm on G-Sync, and there's not a lot of screen movement going on usually during those types of combat situations. It's usually a pretty still camera at that point, and I'm just kind of hurling around magic and stuff. So yeah, it's usually stays pretty smooth with G-Sync and all that helping out. So I don't know, maybe it might work better on AMD. I'd have to put the 1060 up against the RX 480 in that and see how big of a performance gap we see with knowing how close those cards really should be. If AMD takes a huge lead, then might be something worth taking a look at further. Certainly. Would you guys like to see that, you think? Think I should do a updated performance video on Dragon Age Inquisition? There's an idea. That's something we might be able to do before the end of the week. All right, so Gabe Newell, he did kind of an AMA thing, and he was talking about Valve and single-player games and Source Engine 2, and he kind of let it out that they are working on some single-player titles. That's plural, titles. Quoting him directly in response to a question about Source Engine 2, he said, "We are continuing to use Source 2 as our primary game development environment. Aside from moving Dota 2 to the engine recently, we are using it as the foundation for some unannounced products." So it looks like Valve are currently working on more than one product that is going to be using Source Engine 2 in addition to what they've already done with Dota 2. So I guess the question is now is what are we going to see? I think if you remember, like it was like about a year ago or so, maybe even a little bit longer back, there was some leaked images of what looked like Source 2 on some Left 4 Dead missions. I think we're going to see a remaster on the Source 2 engine of the Left 4 Dead games. Probably both games will be kind of combined into, one big kind of game, which they've kind of developed into now, at least on the PC, where if you load up either one of those games, you just have all the maps and everything available to you right off the bat. So I think they will do something like that, and I'm also really hoping to see a new Portal 2, a new Portal game. It was actually funny, they actually mentioned in here that Portal 2 is Gabe Newell's, Gabe, and for to save time here, praise Gabe, and his favorite Valve game is actually Portal 2, and I was thinking about that right before I had read this, actually, and I'm almost kind of inclined to agree with him, because while I love Half-Life, absolutely love Half-Life, I think I may have enjoyed Portal 2 more than the Half-Life games in some regards. I mean, you guys can let me know, though, in the comments and the live chat and everything, where you stand on that. I know that's kind of blasphemous, and, while I obviously, just like everyone else, I want a new Half-Life game. I really want a new Half-Life game, but it's seeming like that's not going to happen, and if I was to hear the announcement of a Portal title, I would probably be very close to equally as happy as a Half-Life game. I mean, for a new Half-Life game, it's more or less just the excitement would be because it's almost so unexpected at this point that I would just be kind of floored by the announcement. Whereas a new Portal game, if I heard that, I would just be really pumped because I absolutely loved Portal 2. The first one I wasn't expecting. It was just kind of an extra game on the orange box. And I wasn't really expecting too much from it. And then I played it like a year probably after I had the orange box already. Still wasn't thinking much of it. I just played it because it was something that was there. and ended up being like one of the best games I ever played. So Portal all the way for me. I would love to see a new Portal game, but obviously a new Half-Life would be kind of the best, or maybe a new Left 4 Dead. Obviously, that's another possibility too. What would you guys want to see from Valve though? Maybe new Counter Strike. I really don't think we need a new Counter Strike. I don't think that game kind of genre really would benefit from like a new graphical upgrade or anything. I don't know. I think that game kind of shines by evolving from what it currently has and continuing to optimize the kind of the servers and the hit detection, things like that in those games, and you know the ranking systems and DLC and whatever else they do on Counter Strike Go. I think those games' strength are kind of their longevity. They're kind of like AMD in that way. It's like the Counter Strike fine wine technology, where those games just kind of get better over time, and it's almost better to kind of continue evolving the title that they have available rather than putting out a new one. Because almost with all the Counter Strike games, when they've come out, they've just been met with a lot of backlash from the community, and then it's usually not until like years later and several dozens of patches later where the games are actually playable and enjoyed by the community. And that's what happened with CSGO. It happened with Source. It happened with all of them. It happened with every Counter-Strike, where it's like, this game sucks until it becomes the new best one. Although I don't think Source ever really replaced 1.6 personally. At least not for me. 1.6 was way better than Source for life. All right, Watch Dogs 2, we were just talking about that a moment ago. They just got their update. This was on the 16th. I got a chance to download it the other day, and I played it earlier today a little bit, and I did not see my frames going below 60 FPS now in this game. Where on the settings that I was using, where I think I have screen space reflections and shadows knocked down by 1 notch, and the ambient occlusion, I'm using SSBC, which is Ubisoft's in-house anti-aliasing. Other than that, I have everything else cranked up to the max in that game. And when I was playing the game up until I beat it, I would get some drops down into the 40s and the 50s when I was going through some parts of the open world. But now with this patch, I'm not seeing it go down below 60 at all with the same exact settings that I had been using previously. But I already beat the game. I beat it about a week ago, so that's why I haven't been playing it as much anymore. But it does appear to be running a lot better. It's a shame that they didn't have this optimization when the game first sort of came out, especially since they had extra time to work on the PC port of the game. It came out later than the console version, so I really wish they could have optimized this stuff for launch so that I could have enjoyed the performance optimizations. But I've already basically finished the game and I've moved on from it, and now I'll only ever really touch the game if I'm doing performance testing or something of the like, or if they come out with a massive story DLC, then I might go back on it for that, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And thank you from Kyle Adler dropping in donation. He said, how's the Vertigear holding up? I was debating it for the price I can get an Air on. The Vertigear is holding up really well. It's still very comfy. It did start to develop a squeak when I lean all the way back. But that's about it. I don't know how much further it's going to go than that as far as the squeak is concerned. But otherwise, it's a very solid chair. I'm still using it, as you guys can see. I use it every day. It's my primary chair. My other chair has moved over to the second desk over there for the test setup. So I use this chair quite a bit, and it's lasting. All right, so on to 2 more topics, and then we will get into the Q&A. Good night, Bob Sacramento. See you later, man. So if you guys got any questions for us for the Q&A, go ahead and you can start firing them into chat now, and should be able to catch up to them by the time we get through these last 2 topics, which shouldn't take me too long. Nintendo, they did reveal more Switch details. These are from the other day, so it hasn't been any more since the other day, which was like 3 or 4 days ago, but this is the first time we've been able to speak since then, since they did their big kind of the Switch reveal event, and I'd be curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on the Nintendo Switch, if it's something you would be interested in getting. I was kind of, I was optimistic about the Switch up until this presentation, and now I just don't really have much interest at all. The Zelda demo that they showed appeared to be running at like sub 30 FPS. I was like, okay, no interest in that. The Mario game does look pretty good. That appeared to be running at 60 frames. It is a 720p screen, which I really don't have an issue with. And $300. I don't know if I really don't think $300 is that bad of a price, considering you're getting access to first-party titles from Nintendo, Where I think they are missing out on a big segment of their market, though, with their Nintendo first-party titles. Really, is with this $300 unit, they could be making an absolute killing by selling their entire back catalog of games. Like, put the original Mario games on there: Mario Party, Mario Paper, like every Mario game, all the Zelda games, Mario Kart, you name it, like Metroid, whatever. All of the first-party Nintendo titles that your fans love so much that you keep remaking and just keep putting out there, and people just keep buying over and over and over and over and over again. Why not put it on the Nintendo Switch? And even better than that, if you really want to keep milking your fan base, why not make it part of a service? Then you can have people on a monthly hook to keep playing all of your Nintendo titles, and you can keep on building a library over time, and you could charge people for a Netflix-like service where they can access all of the Nintendo games. You guys could be making an absolute killing, but it just hurts my head sometimes when I look at Nintendo. I'm just like, why can't you do better? Like, why can't you just do normal things? Like, why can't you embrace social media and YouTubers out there wanting to create content about your games and your products, and also, kind of listen to what your fans want, and basically just wanting to play your old games. You don't even need to make new games. You could sell people your old games on new hardware, and they would gladly pay for it. They've done it. They've been doing it for years, and they would do it again. So, I don't know with Nintendo anymore, man. I'm not going to give them any money. I'm not going to buy this thing. I would totally like to play that Mario game. Like, the Mario game they showed off looked absolutely awesome. I would totally like to play that, but I'm not going to go out and spend $300 for a 720p piece of hardware in 2017 to play one game, which is not even a launch title, by the way. They've got Zelda coming out at launch, but that's really the only major launch title, and then I don't believe they're even bundling a game along with the console this time around. I don't know if they're going to be doing like that. What was it? I think it was called like 1-2 Switch. It was kind of like their version of the Wii Sports type of game, but I don't think that's even first party this time around, so I don't think that's going to be included along with the console or the tablet, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I was kind of curious about this piece of hardware when I first saw it got announced, but now after this presentation, I'm just like, nah, not really for me. All right, so last topic on for today is Microsoft. They have introduced a tool that will allow developers to be able to get in there and analyze DirectX 12 performance on games, which could help them to improve DX12 optimization, which is really awesome to see. I personally just wish that something like this was available to us, though, through like the Microsoft Store. Even if it, maybe if it only worked on UWP titles, that would be kind of limiting. But even if we could have an advanced, DX12 tool for UWP titles, then that would be really great. If basically like Digital Foundry, they've got their overlay, like build something like that into Windows. Like, let us use that on DirectX 12 titles, since we're getting direct access to the hardware. Let us be able to utilize that for performance testing on games would be awesome. But this is going to be more for developers. So if that, ends up leading to developers having easier access to performance tools so that they can optimize the games better for release, then I'm all for that. I don't think that's really just a win-win at the end of the day, for these developers to be able to get on there and test the games before they come out. I don't know if they've been doing that for years or not with DX11, and that's something that they couldn't do with DX12. It certainly doesn't feel that way, because we get broken DX11 titles all the time. So, but yeah, if this makes it easier for them, and if it's fixes games at the end of the day, then I can't see this hurting at all. So I'm all for it. Good on you, Microsoft, for making tools like this available for the devs at least. But yeah, it'd be great to have it available to us gamers as well, to be able to track our performance. Let's see. Did we get any questions in the chat though? Let's see. Not seeing, wasn't DX12 supposed to be a big hitter in 2016? Yeah, DX12 was supposed to be a big hit in 2016. I mean, that's what we really thought. And also, get your questions into chat, guys, so we can go ahead and get through those for the Q&A. Yeah, but yeah, DX12 was, kind of thought it was going to be a big hit in 2016, but we didn't get as many titles as we had hoped for. So maybe next year, maybe in 2017 and 2018, everyone kind of got really on the DX12 train and was like ready for it, before it was even available. And then we're just kind of seeing a trickling of games coming out now that are utilizing it. So it's really just a matter of these publishers building up their engines to really be able to take advantage of DX12 from the source. So that's probably why we're not seeing too many DX12 titles right now. But as new, games are being introduced into some franchises and new franchises are coming out, then we will start to see this kind of stuff get pushed more, and we will see the optimization as a result. I think probably more so in 2017, and then it'll just continue to snowball from there. Any prediction on whether SLI will improve on DX12 as we have more engine design with 4K in mind rather than wrappers? Good question. I don't think it's necessarily will improve, but I mean, if all things are considered, multi-GPU should, in essence, be better than SLI in the way that it runs right now, with the way that it uses, split frame rendering for SLI. You would hope if they were using it in DX12 properly, you'd be able to get multi-frame rendering. So you should, in theory, be able to get perfect scaling, or as close to perfect as you can get. That's the, kind of the idea in theory of what people have been waiting for with multi-GPU support in DX12 since before we even had any DX12 titles come out. I remember when DX12 was really when it was first out there as being a thing that we were discussing here on the show. That was the first thing people were talking about. It was like, oh my God, DX12 is going to come out and SLI is just going to work and everything. It's going to be perfect. And it's like, no, it's not going to work like that. So now we're just kind of seeing that, and I hope it just continues to get better over time. Damn, I never know when these are anymore. I know we're gonna get back on schedule, Technoscope. I promise. Next week we should be getting back on at 5:30. This week I started a little early because I was by myself, and it was the same last week. I started a little early because I was flying solo, and I wanted to get the show done. And next week, though, we're gonna be, if you weren't here at the start of the broadcast, we're gonna be back with Anthony and Steve from Gamers Nexus. So should be back on normal time now that CES is over, and we're going to get back into the sort of the normal schedule of things. So, Manny, Anthony is on holiday this week as well. I did not know about that last week. I found out about a couple days after the show. So yeah, he was on holiday for this week, but he's going to be back next week and the weeks following that. And we'll also have Steve for next week though. So 3-man show. Do I think the next Assassin's Creed or Far Cry will be true DX12 titles? I do think that they will. At least, I'm not sure about Far Cry, but at least for Assassin's Creed, because they've kind of taken the break off of with that game. They kind of took a break off of developing those. They were doing them annually, and they've taken time to sort of work on it, and I'm hopeful that they're working on the engine while they're doing that, and that they will be able to optimize that for future Assassin's Creed games. So, yeah, I'm hopeful for new Assassin's Creed and Far Cry titles to be well optimized DX12 titles with new engines. Hopefully we'll get some details about that at some point this year. But I'm thinking E3 this year is probably going to have a lot of big announcements because we really don't have too much in terms of a sort of a second half lineup. Usually that's when all the big games come out, is like September, October, towards the end of the year. And looking at that game release calendar that I was staring at the start of the episode, it gets cut off right now in May, and I've never seen that before. I've been looking at this as my source for a game calendar like every year since like 2014 on the Game Informer website. This page just keeps updating every year, and this is the first time I've seen it get cut off in May, where they just aren't even talking about what's coming out at the end of the year because we just don't even know. It's just a complete mystery. So I think we're going to see a lot of really big announcements at E3 this year, which is exciting, certainly. Is Anthony locked up for stealing Project Valerie? He just might be. I don't know. He was missing last week, kind of ominously. He was just kind of missing, wasn't he? He just really wasn't here. So I really can't offer much of an alibi for Anthony. Well, I just know that the Razer laptop, the Valerie, did actually show up though. It's for sale right now. Actually, there's a website you can buy it on for like $15,000. Some Chinese website, someone listed it over there, like some Chinese version of eBay for $15,000. Absolutely mental. Do I think Vega can be on par with the GTX 1080? Probably. I think that on the highest end of Vega, I think it's not going to be one card in Vega. I believe there's going to be several GPUs in the stack for Vega, but I think on their higher end, where we're probably looking at something like 8 gigabytes of HBM2, I think they're definitely going to be competing with the 1080 and even Titan X Pascal. And that's the GPU that I'm kind of excited to get. 1080 Ti is cool, is pretty cool as well. I'm waiting for that to come out, but I think I would more sooner throw Vega with 8 gigabytes of HBM2 in my system. I want to see how that memory holds up to like mods or something like that on, games. Start to throw that at like Fallout and Skyrim with mods, Witcher with mods, and throw that in there with 8 gigabytes of HBM2 and see how it handles it. I think that would be a lot of fun. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up and get on out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on the broadcast and everything down in the comments below, as always. If you're here in the chat right now, if you're one of the 166 beautiful people, please go ahead and leave us a like down below. It always helps to support the show and help us in search rankings and all of that good stuff, and get us more views and all of those things, those amazing things that happen when people watch videos. So yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Like I said, next week I'll be back with Anthony and Steve from Gamers Nexus. Hopefully we'll have a lot more juicy tech news, and I should have some hardware to show off next week as well. I got some hardware coming this week, all that stuff that I mentioned at the start of the show for the KB Lake build, which is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to do that build. It's going to be kind of like silver and white themed, silver, white, and black kind of ish. Somewhere in that area, so it's gonna look super sexy. Can't wait to like just play some heavy metal and rock out to some benchmarks on KB Lake. Yes. All right, I'll catch you guys next week. Tura. Where is the stop streaming button? There it is. All right, guys. Peace. And hair grease. Dick's out for.